All right. Good morning, everybody. And before we begin, well done, everybody, for showing up in the bad weather. Good job. It's, we went to bed last night and I heard that there was supposed to be 8.5 inches of snow here in Kane County. And I thought, all right. And I set the clock for 5, didn't hear anything, went back to sleep 6:15, got up normally. And thank you to Scott, for keeping our roads safe, and for KDOT for doing the same. And for our deputy who's sitting outside, who is here at 4 o'clock in the morning. So when you go out, if you can just give her a thumbs up and say, thank you very much for showing up here at Kane County at 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure that our roads and transportation and all of us are just kept safely. So well done to all. So with that, let's call this meeting to order. It's Tuesday, January 9th, 2024, and it is 9:50. Clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen present by Zoom if allowed.
Bates, Berman,
Berman is here.
Doherty,
Doherty here.
Davis,
Davis here.
Ford, Gums,
Gums remote.
Iqbal, Juby here, Kenyon
Here.
Caius,
Vice President.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Lewis,
Here.
Linder. All right, Molina,
Molina present.
Roth,
Roth here.
Sanchez,
Sanchez present.
Silva,
Silva is here.
Strathman,
Strathman here remote.
Surgis, Tarver, Tepe, Williams, Young,
Here.
Madam Chair. You have a quorum.
Here. Very good, thank you. Mr. Leonard, Mr. Davos, Mr. Doherty, Ms. Strathman, and Ms. Allen would all like to be admitted due to illness. Do I have your permission to allow them in?
Consent.
And Ms. Gums, fortunately, the weather is not going to be an allowable use. We welcome your comments, but you'll not be allowed to vote.
Thank you.
All righty. So you're all queued up. So please, Mr. Roth, go ahead.
Roth here. I've been asked to give the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance this morning. I had arranged for Father Peck from my parish, St. John Newman, to give the invocation. Unfortunately, this morning I found out our associate pastor was sick, so Father Peck has to step in for a funeral. So we had to fall to the bottom of the barrel, which is me. So I whipped up an invocation this morning, so I apologize for what it is. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather here today to conduct the business of Kane County, we pause to seek your guidance and blessings. We acknowledge the diversity of perspectives and experiences represented in this room, and we ask for your wisdom to guide our deliberations. Grant us the strength to work together in harmony, recognizing the shared responsibility we bear for the well-being of our community. May our decisions reflect a commitment to justice, fairness, and the common good. We express gratitude for the talents and dedication for those who serve our county, and we seek your guidance for continued excellence in our responsibilities. Inspire us to be leaders who listen with open hearts, speak with kindness, and act with integrity. May our discussions be filled with understanding and empathy, fostering an environment of collaboration and respect. Help us to recognize the challenges facing our community and empower us to make decisions that will lead to a brighter future for all. In times of disagreement, let us remember the shared goal of serving the people of Kane County. May our differences be a source of strength, encouraging innovation and creative solutions. We are grateful for the opportunity to serve our community, and we humbly ask for your guidance as we strive to make decisions that honor the trust placed in us by the residents of Kane County. In your name, we pray. Amen. Okay. And then for the pledge, I've invited Zoe Kreiner to lead the pledge. She runs a veterans organization called Support Over Stigma. And I'm going to ask her to step forward and say a few words about that before she leaves.
Very nice. Very nice.
And she did bring in some flyers, which will be up here if anyone wants to grab one. Thank you.
Great. Welcome, Zoe. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Zoe Kreiner. I'm a 25-year resident of Kane County. From my grandfather to my son, 36 have served or are currently serving in the U.S. military.
Wow.
Most of whom come home to become first responders. And in November 2nd of 2019, we lost a St. Charles Marine, 22-year-old Corporal Patrick O'Reilly, to PTSD. He was my son's best friend. My son ended up losing 3 people in 4 days to suicide. And that's how Support Over Stigma was born. It came out of a mama bear's passion of how do I help my own kid? And we have helped over 25,000 current military veterans and first responders in 3.5 years. So thank you for having us out here today. They say we've all heard the phrase 22 a day veterans take their own life. Duke University just released a study that says the real numbers are closer to 44 a day. Active duty suicides are up 27%. And in case y'all don't know it, last year, Kane County lost 2 first responders to suicide that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are more, but first responder suicides are never tracked. So I think it's very fitting that today on National Law Enforcers Day that I'm here. So thank you for having me out. So if everybody else stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
If there is any way that we can learn more about your valuable organization besides the flyer, perhaps you can work with Mr. Ross and a committee so we can have you speak to us so we can learn more, because certainly that's a tragedy that I know all of us would be willing and able to support, whether as a board or independently.
I appreciate that. And just so you're all aware, we currently have 3 National Guard units deployed that involve Kane County citizens. We have another one that deployed this week. And I know of a ship that will go out in the next 72 hours that has 4 Kane County sailors on it, just so that you're aware, it really does hit close to home. In my neighborhood alone, we have 16 kids on active duty. I live over at my Munn.
Okay,
So,
all right, good.
Thank you.
Good. I look forward to hearing more about the organization. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thanks, Kim.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Yeah,
If we could have her hooked up with Kane County Connect, that would be a great article for our public.
very good, very good. Okay,
Perfect.
we'll
Thank
get
you.
it done. We'll get it done. Thank you. Great idea. It's truly remarkable, the wonderful people we have here in Kane County who step up to serve. It's just extraordinary. All right, back to business. It's hard to transfer back. May I please have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of December 12th, 2023?
Madam Chair, this is Caius. I would ask for unanimous consent for those minutes.
Okay, very good. Mr. Iqbal, you second that? Yes.
Need a second.
Unanimous consent, everybody? Yes, okay, very good, thank you. All right, I know we have a number of speakers who would like to speak about this issue. But before we begin, I took the liberty of changing the agenda a little bit and have our state's attorney speak to this matter. There was an article that was in the newspaper yesterday, the Daily Herald, that Mr. Frank was quoted. So Mr. Frank, you gave us a report. Could you present that so that we can hear it publicly?
Frank.
Do you have it with you? Your options to regulate unscheduled migrant buses in Kane County? Yes.
Frank, SAO, apologies. I was
Good morning.
misunderstanding. I thought you were asking me to respond to something I was quoted on.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. What you put out to the board was
Yes.
indeed used as a quote.
I understand. So as you all received from us, basically the long and the short of this is, after reviewing other options that you have before you, the answer, that we've kind of come up with is one of the same. Which is you are unfortunately in a position where without authority from state statute or the legislature, to be able to take any ordinance or resolution against someone that would have any legal effect that could be enforced. You do have other options, though. One of the other options is you could put financial support behind OEM or the sheriff to help alleviate some of the issues. My understanding is that they have plans in place already. Whether they need funding or not, I leave that to you. That is an option. You can take a proactive approach that way. But in regards to trying to do something similar to what Aurora or what Elburn has done, you lack, unfortunately, the legal authority, either what they view as expressed or reasonably implied from a state statute to do something like this. Again, it's unfortunate. I do believe, whatever we can do to help these people is important. But in this situation, unfortunately, without being home rule, the county lacks the ability to have any meaningful or what a judge would enforce effect against the busing companies that may be doing this.
Are there any questions? Yes, yes, sir.
Madam Chair, sir. Surges, I just want to, I'm not sure if this is out of line or not, but I just want to acknowledge that as this conversation came up last week, Madam Chair and I took a meeting on Thursday with Congressman Foster, and his staff. In the room was two of the state's attorney, Scott from the Office of Emergency Management, Madam Chair, myself, the undersheriff, Julie from Communications, and I think that rounds out the room. And the 4 or 5 points that I came away from this was that, as John just mentioned, we don't have the ability to legislatively do something to stop this. However, point number 2, Scott from the Office of Emergency Management is well briefed, well suited, seems to be the right person for the job, is on 24/7, and he is singularly the lightning bolt. He is the point of contact that works with the other counties, municipalities, and he's our guy. The sheriff's office does have an emergency plan in effect that I believe was spelled out to us in emphatically. We did acknowledge, Mr. Williams, the notion that there was not 1 but 2 train stations, that being LaFox and Big Timber and Elgin, that do not have cameras on them. We did reach out to our contact, in this case, our dear friend, Mr. McMahon, and suggested, why aren't there cameras there? Are you kidding me? What do we need to do to make that happen? And if the cameras were installed, in fact, who is monitoring them? Where does this go? How does this happen? And then finally, and this is not my role, but we discussed, one of the things that we could do was possibly a proclamation enforcing, our stance on this. And Madam Chair, those were the 5 points that I came away with. Hopefully they meet with your.
That's correct. The proclamation obviously is just a note of support. It has no legal weight to it. It's just a recognition of the feelings of this board. So that has not yet been put forward because I wanted to make sure that that was something that you would like to state. And we could have, if volunteers would like to come forward to draft that, I'd be willing to, have that done.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr. Williams.
Here. I want to thank Mr. Frank for his in-depth review. It's very unfortunate that we're once again as a county put in a situation where we're dealing with policies from the state and federal level where we have no authority to address them. These policies are creating an influx of migrants to the city of Chicago because the city of Chicago has proclaimed itself a self-proclaimed sanctuary city. What that is, nobody really knows because there's no legal basis to declare yourself a sanctuary city. But people in other countries who are seeking a better life hear that Chicago and San Francisco and New York are sanctuary cities and that they're going to be welcomed with open arms. Well, the reality is they come up here and they're put in a tent outside a police station and they languish for at least 6 months because they can't even work. So I think it's imperative that we as a county enact a proclamation where we tell our federal leaders, we tell our state leaders that this can't stand. And, you know, yes, they're going to Chicago, but are they going to remain in Chicago? Are they going to come out to Kane County? We've already seen situations where we have camps in various areas of Elgin. And we're going to be dealing with this, and there's going to be a financial cost to this county. And I think it's imperative that we enact a proclamation that we oppose the sanctuary city policies, that we oppose the busing of migrants through and to our county, and that we oppose the establishment of camp cities. These are human beings we're talking about. And I don't mean to minimize that point, but our residents are ultimately going to be the ones that are paying the cost, both financially and public health and safety. And I've started working a proclamation. I would be happy to submit it to the board for its review. And I would move that we have a special meeting to address this issue.
Okay.
Davis would second.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We will not take a vote on that, obviously. But is it something that the rest of this board feels that we have consensus on to further discuss this? So just to give you an update, I was going to wait until my comments, but I'll do it now. Besides meeting with Congressman Foster, I also had the opportunity to speak with the governor's office. And they have assured me that financial support is coming through, both past and current. So that money is going to be coming through to support Chicago's efforts to house, clothe, feed, and the migrants. There is also a lively discussion that is happening, but this has to happen through the federal jurisdiction, cannot be through the state, certainly cannot be through the counties, plural counties. The fact that we would like to move this, instead of waiting 6 months to get a temporary work permit, that they move it to 1 month so that people can begin to work if needed, because 6 months simply means languishing off of the camps, being fed, closed, and people need to make money. I mean, I think we can all realize that money is an important element for survival here, and they will work underground. They'll work for cash, and that may not be the most appropriate way for them to work, because they will work because they need clothing, they need food. They can't get a residence unless they have a job, so proof of income, some type of proof of income, and some type of permanent locations to show somewhat of stability. So all of this has got to be done on the federal level, cannot be done at the state level, cannot be done at the county level. However, on the county level, I have reached out to several of our fellow counties, and we all are of the same opinion that this whole thing with the busing and stopping the busing willy-nilly, if I can use that term, because that's what it seems like, in Glen Ellen, in Elburn, or in Elgin, or Aurora, or wherever they decide to choose to stop the bus that day, is not conducive to safe passage for anybody, and that it should go directly to Chicago. Because if that's where the intake center is, they should go directly through. And I'm sure that you've heard something in the paper or read it a couple of days ago, how a busload of individuals were coming through to Glen Ellen. They missed the bus or missed the train by seconds. It happens. But they had to wait 5 hours in the night with little cloth blankets on, and it was very cold. So they got back on the bus drove around, waiting for them to come in. Once they got in to Chicago, the 5 o'clock train they took, they got up at Oglesby. They were given a map and said, Here, go to the check-in center. They were lost. They had no idea where to go. Which again, they're disoriented, they're tired, they've had no sleep. This is not the way to function. So this is something that I'm going to be looking into, writing a letter. They already know that I'm writing a letter, and I'm writing that letter in combination with some of our other county board chairs. And that letter will be sent to the city of Chicago, because I want to share what our opposition is, which I think the whole board feels, whatever your stance is on this, that buses and the passengers should be sent safely to Chicago if they're coming into Illinois. There's a way to manage that, and we would kindly request that the mayor of Chicago rescinds that really challenging ordinance that was passed by their city council. Because these are human beings, whether or not you think about it politically, they are still human beings. And I know many of you are of Christian faith or of faith. And faith says, take care of your brother, take care of your sister as best as your ability. So that is something that I think we all hold as just a moral fabric to what we do. So what else did I want to share with you all with that? I am on Thursday. I will be in Chicago, and I just have approval that I'm going to be going to see one of the welcome centers, because it's hard for me to get a judgment on what is actually happening without having the context of it, being able to see it. So I will be visiting that, taking pictures, and I'll come back with a report on what I find out with this visit. So it's something that I feel I need to do, to be your eyes to see what actually is happening. So that's the report that I'm sharing with you today. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair Surges, the one item that caught me, and again, self-admitted, not the sharpest tack in the box, but the thing that coming out of the meeting with Mr. Foster was the notion that the migrants are here under the auspice of asylum. And he was very specific in saying asylum has criteria that far and away the vast majority of the individuals coming will not cross that threshold, will not reach that hurdle. And it just becomes a matter of time until the system, catches up and says, we need to deport you back because you don't meet the criteria. And my comment at that time, and continues today, to say, by golly, that's just a shit ton of money that we're spending trying to say, here's 2 years, 3 years to jam a system through the courts that says we can't, and there needs to be an expedited way to make this happen. And that is so far beyond us in this room here. But that was sobering for me to understand that the coaching these people are receiving is under asylum, and that they will not reach this and be deported. That loop just seems to be problematic for me. So just for what it's worth.
Any other comments on this, thoughts? Yes, Ms. Bates.
I would like to help draft the proclamation.
That'd be lovely. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for volunteering to help out. It's an important proclamation, and good eyes need to be on it. All right, anybody else? Okay, Mr. Frank, thank you for your research on that. So we will put the proclamation together and make sure that it gets passed through you, sir, so you can take a look at it, even though we'll have an attorney on it, just to get a neutral eye on it, and we can move forward. Okay, so I think we're all on the same position on how we feel about this. Safety and security of our residents is paramount, but we want to ensure that these individuals are treated with the respect as human beings. And I think that's also critically important. And we owe everybody that. All right, now we have public comment, and we're going to be limiting it today to 30 minutes. So with that, let me get this. is, I've got two. I have two. Thank you. Sherry Liskey, I'm sorry, Liskey. There she is. Hi. And these are all on topic. So you have 5 minutes.
Okay, great. Good morning. My name is Sherry Liskey. I'm a resident of Kane County. I would like to take this opportunity to share some of my thoughts regarding the buses transporting asylum seekers and migrants from Texas. In life, often a series of events happen that we do not have influence over the origin, but we do over how we respond. Case in point, the migrant buses from Texas. Over the past year and a half, thousands of people have arrived in our state. Recently, it has become a practice to bring people to train stations on the way to Chicago. As a consequence, many of the municipalities have passed ordinances calling for advance notice. These are quasi-reminiscent of the sundown laws of the past millennium. That being said, I would like to emphasize today that there is a whole other perspective, and that this is one of compassion, welcome, and real-time assistance available to the migrants. Both formal and informal groups are ready to provide water, snacks, and much-needed winter gear. All along the Fox Valley and into the next county, there are people ready to work together at a moment's notice to get these resources to the people in need. Communication via text or social media can quickly alert these networks. Let's build community through inspiration as well as action. Be kind, be generous, be a cooperator. Let's work together. Thank you.
Next speaker is Patty Lackman.
Okay.
Hello, Madam Chair and County Board members. Thank you for all you do for Kane County. My name is Patty Lackman, and I am a Batavia resident and second vice president of the League of Women Voters of Central Kane County. Chicago is the only authorized landing zone for immigrants arriving in Illinois by bus or plane. We have all been aware of the asylum seekers being bused and flown to Chicago these past few months with no orderly drop-off and processing. This haphazard process has become a great concern in Chicago, prompting the city to implement a strict arrival policy and stiff penalties for non-compliant bus companies. So now, instead of arriving at the landing zone in Chicago, the buses and planes continue the practice of unannounced random drop-offs at suburban train platforms and area airports to avoid the policies and penalties. For the recent bus drop-offs in our county, we appreciate the immediate assistance provided by local law enforcement agencies, including local police, and the Sheriff's Department, the County Emergency Preparedness Office, the Health Department, and other county agencies who were able to help them continue their journey to the landing zone in Chicago. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan and neither supports nor opposes candidates for selected office. As many of you know, since you've come to our candidate forums, the League does, however, work to influence public policy on specific issues after member study and consensus. Where we stand is the platform of the League of Women Voters of Illinois. It is a companion to Impact on Issues, the League of Women Voters of the United States program book. Taken together, these publications and the League principles form the basis for all action taken by Illinois leagues on state and national issues, including immigration. The National League of Women Voters believes that immigration policies should promote reunification of immediate families, meet the economic, business, and employment needs of the United States, and be responsive to those facing political persecution or humanitarian crises. For our state, I quote, the Illinois League states that the state of Illinois should promote local community efforts to provide orientation and counseling service for immigrants regardless of documentation status. More pertinent, the state of Illinois should support funding efforts for these services by encouraging federal funding and by the use of funds from state and local governments, as well as from the private sector, unquote. Still quoting from Where We Stand, The scope of the June 2005 League of Women Voters of Illinois adopted study was, how should Illinois respond to the challenges and opportunities of immigration in the areas of economic policy, social policy, which includes education and the governmental process? The topic had crept up the awareness ladder in the United States. This is 2005. Specifically in Illinois, a state with one of the largest immigrant populations in the country, it was and continues to be debated regularly in the media and by our elected officials. Because of the federal government's inability to pass enforceable immigration laws, legislation was and still is being introduced in the General Assembly, and communities have been considering local ordinances to address immigration issues, unquote. Here we are, 18 years later, still grappling with social policy as we think of the asylum seekers being dropped off unannounced and unplanned for in suburban towns and cities in Kane County in an attempt to circumvent Chicago's landing zone orderly drop-off policies and to avoid the extensive penalties of random, unexpected bus and plane loads of asylum seekers arriving in Chicago. The Illinois League has worked in coalition with the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, ICIRR, to support and help pass important immigration bills, helping to make Illinois one of the most welcoming states in the country. We thank the Kane County leaders coordinating and funding the assistance to the asylum seekers who are headed to Chicago and trust that federal, state, and local funds will be adequate and will continue to be applied for all and used to meet all the humanitarian needs of these individuals. Thank you.
Lona Steele.
Good morning. My name is Lona Steele and I live in Geneva. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. And I'm the first vice president of the League of Women Voters of Central Kane County. First of all, I want to thank all of you, Madam Chair, and all of the county board members for what you have done, what you are doing, and what you will do this year for the residents of Kane County and for visitors. You've worked tirelessly for the good of this county. We've read recent accounts of busloads of asylum seekers being offloaded at various metro platforms at all hours in all kinds of weather in order to circumvent Chicago's orderly arrival policy for buses and planes carrying asylum seekers, as well as to avoid the severe penalties for not following the policy. The authorized Chicago landing zone is the only official arrival point in Illinois. We're grateful that immediate assistance was offered by local police departments, the Sheriff's Department, the Office of Emergency Preparedness, the Health Department, and other county agencies. I agree with Madam Chair Parag, who said, and I quote in part, "The primary objective is to aid communities in managing the situation effectively to ensure a safe onward journey for asylum seekers." Our county's Emergency Management Director, Scott Brzezinski, said in part, "We've been actively sharing information with public safety agencies, the state, and the city of Chicago to make sure individuals seeking assistance reach the designated landing zone." We urge everyone in this room to read the page 1 lead story in the Chicago Tribune from this past Sunday, and it's an excellent article. If you haven't read it, please do. It talks about the expense to the asylum seekers to get here, the months-long dangerous, fatiguing ordeal many of these asylum seekers have experienced, and Chicago's arrangement to welcome and assist them. The League of Women Voters has a process of studying an issue in the local leagues, coming to consensus and sending the results to their state league leaders to be worked into position statements. Those position statements are found in the document Where We Stand for the League of Women Voters of Illinois. The consensus statements are sent to the National League to be included in the LWVUS Impact on Issues document. And Ms. Lackman just mentioned that recently. According to LWVUS, and I quote, "The League of Women Voters believes that immigration policy should promote reunification of immediate families, meet the economic, business, and employment needs of the United States, and be responsive to those facing political persecution or humanitarian crises. Provision should also be made for qualified persons to enter the United States on student visas. All persons should receive fair treatment under the law. The League supports federal immigration law that provides an efficient, expeditious system with minimal or no backlogs for legal entry for immigrants into the United States." End quote. In the LWVIL, Where We Stand document, our immigration position dating from the early 2000s states, and I quote, that the state of Illinois should promote local community efforts to provide orientation and counseling services for immigrants regardless of documentation status. The state of Illinois should support funding efforts for these services by encouraging federal funding and by the use of funds from the state and local governments, as well as from the private sector, end quote. It's important that funding be applied for and provided by all possible sources, federal, state, county, local, and private. Right now, it's important that Kane County fund the necessary humanitarian assistance to help the asylum seekers who find themselves stranded in Kane County, miles and miles away from the approved landing zone in Chicago. Again, thank you to the county board, the board committees, and I know how much time you spend in committee work beyond this county board meeting, and the agencies for all you do, but specifically for how you have responded positively to this emergency situation. Thanks also to the local communities who have assisted these travel-worn individuals as they continue on their destination. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Emily Kahanik.
I'm actually just here to answer questions for the zoning petition, so.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay, thanks, Emily. Kyle's the same thing. Kyle Barry, you're here for the same reason, right? Zoning? Okay. Thank you. Scott Osen? Osborne. Okay, same. Sorry. Brian Anderson?
Good morning, Brian Anderson, Sugar Grove, Illinois. I first off just want to encourage the board. Madam Chair said 6 people. That's 30 minutes. She's just named 6 people. I'm actually glad I'm on the list, but according to your mission statement, be accountable to all citizens. So I would hope that the board would recognize that if there's more people that want to speak on the immigration, that you will allow that to happen. But I'm thankful to be speaking. Boy, I'm all over the place. Last week, we came to the executive meeting, and for those of you that were not here last week, hopefully you've been briefed. Hopefully you got on and looked at the entire executive board meeting. There were probably 12 of us that spoke. I'm back again. I'm not going to regurgitate what I spoke about last week. I did write this down, and I would encourage the League of Women Voters to perhaps read our Constitution, because let me pull that up. As I said, I'm all over the place. Article 4, Section 4. We have laws on the books. Read the Constitution. It's not about federal. It's not about state. It's about the county and we the people, but I digress. Here's why I'm here today. If you go back to the board meeting last week at 1 hour, 20 minutes, 29 seconds or so, Madam Chair was talking about, well, I'm working with the sheriff and we know there's buses within the Kane County. Wow. Okay. So thankful one of my friends went home, immediately FOIA'd, and to our chagrin, we got an immediate response from the sheriff's department. Now I have the FOIA in front of me, and I'm not going to reveal the school district right now, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. So we did get it. Here's the concern. Madam Chair seemed to know about it. The chair seemed to know, the sheriff seemed to know about it. But when I got the FOIA and it's listing here the school, I called a good friend of mine who's on the school board. Brian, I know nothing about it. Please send me the FOIA. Send him the FOIA. Brian, no one on the board knows about these buses being used in Kane County at the school district level. He immediately, and this is on a Saturday, he immediately called the president of the school board. Don't know anything about it. Called the superintendent. Lo and behold, the superintendent, I think, was surprised that he knew what was going on. That's where I'll stop, because they're now in special meeting with their superintendent and the board. Now, I live in 129, 14,000 students, thousands of parents. I don't know. I'd like to know as a taxpayer, 75% of my taxes go to 129. I'd like to know if those buses are going to be used to transport illegal immigrants. Now, I digress. The main reason I spoke last week is, and I won't go back into it, Madam Chair on Shaw Media, these asylum seekers, they wound here unexpectedly. Well, they didn't. Now, I spoke on a lot of data last week, and so I'm hoping you're all paying attention. Thank you. I came to the podium and said in 2022, our United States government, and this is, by the way, off the Department of Homeland Security, so this isn't a right-wing conspiracy theorist here. 25,000, quote unquote, and what Mr. Surgis said, speaking with Foster, I agree. We allowed 25,000 people to seek asylum. Last year, that number went from 25,000 to 60,000. Okay. This is fresh off the bat from our current president of the United States, so I would encourage you to review it. 2024, president will allow 125,000 refugees to enter our country. Okay, that's cool. 302,000 walked across the border in December. That's not counting the other 11 months. I just said we're going to legally, through a process, give these people asylum, a small number. And oh, by the way, they have to have documentation. They have to be
Thank you,
vetted.
Mr. Anderson.
So winding up in Kane County on a bus is not following the process. Thank you.
Not like they want to end up in King County.
I know. All right, I think we have what public speaking had started at quarter after, so we've got 15.
We've currently had 16 minutes of speakers talking.
We've got 14.
Yes.
So some of the speakers, I believe that's the end of the list on agenda. Some of the speakers came, in, I see you, but I'm just questioning because you're a registered. So on January 2nd before the agenda was put together. I'm just saying what I have here, what's printed out. So Michelle, I will recognize you. Yeah. Are you ready to speak?
Michelle Batag, St. Charles. I want to say this isn't going away. This is going to keep getting huger and huger problem. Rick Williams acknowledged the fact that we do need a resolution, and I think that's what most of the people here. Proclamation, I'm sorry, regarding the situation with the illegals. I guess what I want to say is you look at the people and the people that are suffering in Chicago and them sleeping on O'Hare floor. That's a problem. Also, on the flip side, a lot of the residents in Chicago are highly agitated, highly feeling that they are being replaced by these illegal migrants that are coming in. For the record, I just want to say they did break the law coming here. We have a constitution. The president of the United States is breaking the law as well. Madam Chair, you make it super clear where you stand on this. You're more concerned about Governor Pritzker, what he wants. You're more concerned about going to the city of Chicago to see what's going on there. Your constituents who are voting for you in November are concerned about citizens here, the people that pay the money. Maybe the people in Geneva aren't feeling it, but talk to the people on either side of the county. They're very, very concerned. And it's the minorities, it's the low income. They're concerned that they're being replaced, and there's a real problem for safety as well. So as Brian said, these are not people just showing up here by happenstance. They're actually showing up here very intentional, along with the policymakers in this country, along with you, Madam Chair, who would like them here because they're awesome voters for you. So what I want to say is thank you, Mr. Williams, for saying what you're saying. I would like the board to make a very clear statement where we stand in Kane County, because if you talk to your voters, not all of them, but if you talk to your voters, you know, they're very concerned. They don't like it. The numbers are huge, 10 million by the end of 24 estimated. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people that we are supporting. That's a lot of danger that's coming in. These people haven't been, you know, their health, their vaccinations, all that have not been up. So let's not forget that. So the people who's transporting their kids in these school buses, are they aware of this? No, they're not, because intentionally they're not made aware that, hey, I'm picking your kid up at 8 a.m. and we just had a group of illegal migrants spending the night in the bus until the train takes them. So I just want the resolution or whatever you guys are doing. I need a statement from Kane County to support these city mayors, support these, the sheriffs, support these local police officers. I think it's important that the Kane County Board does a statement that tells our stance. Thank you.
Jonathan Gripe, are you here, Drippy? No? I think that completes it. Yes, everybody's on there. All right, very good. So now with that. There are some other speakers who will be speaking and they're off agenda. So we will direct that at the end of our meeting. May I have a motion to, yes, ma'am. You're speaking on what issue, please? And your name? Denise, hold on a second. Okay, no, I'm sure you did. All right, Denise, I'll accept that. And that'll be it. Did you sign up as well? All right, if both of you, if I could request, if you could keep it to 3 minutes. If you
It'll
could
be
do that.
1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you, Denise.
I was not really prepared to speak this morning, but I came across a website from data that came out in 2022 about, it was comparing immigrants and US or illegal immigrants and US born families and how much welfare they're getting. It is sometimes asserted that immigrant welfare use is low. Immigrant welfare use, illegal immigrant welfare use is low because most new legal immigrants as well as illegal immigrants are barred from using most welfare programs. This 2022 survey, which came from data from a government organization, I can share the website with you if you like, indicates that more than half of immigrant households use one or more major welfare programs, compared with 39% of households headed by US born. They also estimate, using the data, 59% of the households headed by illegal immigrants access welfare, as do 52% of households headed by legal immigrants. Illegal, let this sink in. And this is according to the data, government data. Illegal immigrants are receiving more welfare than all US citizens combined. That's all I have to say. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. You'll be our last speaker.
Thank you. My name's Steve Briezowitz. I'm from St. Charles. Thanks for giving me a minute to speak here, even though it apparently didn't make it through the system. I just want to correct a couple problems. One, the Chicago Sanctuary City Law has a real meaning. It means that the police department and the resources of Chicago are not going to be used to seek out and deport illegal immigrants. It doesn't mean that they can live there forever, free from deportation. It has a specific meaning, and if the meaning has been distorted to encourage people to move here illegally, that's not on the city of Chicago. These people that are coming here, you've all seen the pictures. They cut holes in the fences, they climb the fences, they take boats around the fences, they swim through a river, climb over barbed wire fence to get here. These are people desperate to improve their standard of living, whether they're fleeing from persecution, economic distress, or wars. That's how most of us got here, even though we didn't have, when my ancestors came here, not that long ago, but pre-World War I, there was no limit on immigration, and we've only had limits on immigration recently. It's always been considered a good thing, especially by the business community looking for more labor. I just hope that Kane County will treat these people coming here unbidden by us, but through the actions of Governor Abbott in Texas to randomly send around the country without notice immigrants to get them off out of Texas. I just hope that Kane County will find it in its heart to treat these people with human dignity and respect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that truly concludes public comment. And again, I thank everybody for sharing their concerns. Items off agenda will be addressed at the end of this meeting. And I do have a list of speakers who have signed up and they're off agenda. So before we begin the business of the day, there was a comment made, and I would like to assure whatever political stance you have, whatever visions you have and feelings for Kane County on this issue, I stand here for public safety. I want to assure that these buses are not randomly dropped off in Kane County, that they should be shepherded if they do come, or not at all stay on the highways to go to their landing spot, which is in the city of Chicago. They should not be diverted to any of our communities who are ill-prepared to handle this at different times of the day, different times of the evening, causing stress amongst our residents, causing time and financial support by our police departments, and causing anxiety amongst the children who may be on that bus, which will have a lasting impact upon their lives. So as a Catholic, and I am a Catholic, do unto others as you do unto those for the love of God. So I want to make sure that they arrive safely, and I want to assure you that with compassion and with safety in mind, I'm going to do everything I can to advocate to make sure that those buses stay on their path, stay on their point of destination journey, and get to Chicago safely without having to divert themselves to the county or to any other county here in Illinois. For your safety and for everybody's safety. So I want that to be clear. That is my true position. No matter how you may mince it, it is your security in mind that I have and of that of our communities. So is there any further discussion on this item before we go forward? I look forward to getting the proclamation. All right, now we have we have a couple of ordinances. So Mr. Ford, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to everyone. Our first petition is 4619. The petitioner is James Ariola Trust. And the location is 40 West 234 Fabian Parkway in Blackberry Township. It's a special use request in the F Farming District for a solar facility. Proposed open space for the 2040 plan. Zoning board approval with the recommendations listed in our packet, and it shows a total of 13. With that, I make the motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Iqbal.
So with 4619, one of our guest speakers is Scott Osborne. He probably here for questioning. I don't know if he wants to speak now, and also Kyle Berry, which is the attorney for the petitioner.
Mr. Osborne, you want to come up?
Good morning. Thank you for hearing our petition today. Myself and Kyle Berry and Emily Kahanik are here really just to answer any questions or address any concerns that you may have in discussion. So that's all I really have to add.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I don't have the list for the public speakers.
Do you, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Berry?
Yeah, I'm the attorney for the petitioner. We're here to answer any questions. The project, it's a 5 megawatt solar project. It was approved and recommended unanimously by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And then I believe the Development Committee also recommended it unanimously with a set of conditions that you probably have in front of you. So again, if there are any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you. Emily Kahanik?
I'm just here to answer any civil engineering questions you might have.
Okay. And Michelle Carpenter? She's not here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Scott. Does Mr. Van Kirkup want to come up and explain anything, or are we ready to take a vote?
Any other
Whose district is this, please?
Mr. Berman's.
Favorable.
So I guess I don't know if any other questions are
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I have several questions. And you can answer it, the gentleman in the audience. Who is the manufacturer of the solar panels, and what is the country of origin of the solar panels?
A manufacturer has not been determined yet. We included information on a sample panel in the application package. That was a Chinese manufacturer, and the reality of the day is that we're in a global economy and these panels will come from all over the world. They will be what we call tier 1 panels, which means they will be certified in Underwriters Laboratory, tested and approved, and they have to meet our criteria to guarantee that they don't leach chemicals, that they're not harmful to the environment.
Thank, I have several. Can I continue?
Do you have another question?
I have many more.
I'm sorry.
I have many more. Can I continue?
Many more. Is Mr. Ford still leading this discussion? Mr. Ford, how many questions? Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so you don't know who the manufacturer is. You know it's probably going to be a Chinese manufacturer. Have you looked into a United States manufacturer?
There are a number of manufacturers that are rehoming, redomesticating panel manufacturing here to the US. US Solar is one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. They have manufacturing here in Illinois. I'd love to use their panels. I don't know if those will be economically competitive at the time of production, project construction. But we evaluate all options.
Okay, so you go for the cheap China stuff.
Well, Samsung panels are very nice. They're from Korea.
Okay,
And
but it sounds like you're not going to go for US. That's fine. Is this crystalline silicon or is this cadmium telluride solar panels?
these will be the crystalline silicone panels.
Okay. You may or may not be able to tell me the answer to this question, but I'm just curious. I've talked to one of these solar panel farms is going up right down the street from me, like literally 300 yards. And I have concerns about it. So I asked him this question. He couldn't tell me, but he says he is definitely going to get paid a lot more money not to farm his valuable farmland versus what he will get from that person that's going to lease that property from him. And I was told that could be a factor of 2, 3, maybe even 10. And can you share that information as to how much more money they're going to be getting versus farming this land?
The landowner contracts are confidential. I can't discuss those terms. Generally speaking, and I don't know what their farming revenue is either, but I have seen the same, really 2 to 3 times greater. I haven't seen 10 times greater income.
Okay. Sounds right.
Any other?
And that is not germane to this question. We can't ask a private individual.
Understood. But just a couple more questions quickly. Is there a plan for disposal of these solar panels after their use? Because typically they last, what, 20 to 30 years? So that's been a big topic of discussion. At least I brought it up as to what is going to happen after these solar panels are decommissioned. I know that the state allows these to go into landfills, and it's much lower cost to dispose of them in a landfill than to break them down and dispose of it and actually extract all of the materials out of it. But I just want to know if there's a plan that you guys have for end of life.
We will have a decommissioning plan that is required. We have to enter it under state law that passed in January of last year, signed by the governor, I think on January 27th last year. We have to enter into what's called an AMA, which is an agricultural impact mitigation agreement. That's with the Department of Agriculture of the state. That requires a decommissioning plan on the back end of this, which will have to come before the board for its approval. And the decommissioning plan will spell out that the whole facility has to be removed, the land has to be reclaimed back to its current state, ready to plow, ready to plant. On the recycling question, that is a growing business right now. I think it's First Solar now has the capacity to recycle Oh, it's a huge number of solar panels that they have the capacity to do that recycling and repurpose those materials back into new panels. And so that is a growing business, and I believe it will be a thriving business within 10 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Ms. Bates?
So how much carbon dioxide, how many tons of carbon dioxide will 5 megawatt system remove from the atmosphere, helping to stop climate change?
Off the top of my head, I can't.
Approximately 2,150 tons per year?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you that number. I believe it's the equivalent of 1,300 homes.
Oh, is it approximately 1,500 homes that it will help provide the energy for?
I do believe that is correct.
Okay, and will this be a community solar project?
It will be a community.
So this will be providing an opportunity for people who don't have roofs that they can put their own solar panels on to participate in the green energy revolution?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then, and reduce their energy costs every month?
I believe it can reduce the energy costs. It depends on what the base power price the customer is paying.
And be especially beneficial to low income and underserved communities?
That's what the community energy program is intended to do.
Thank you.
Yes.
If I were a judge, and which I'm only watching legal shows, I'd say you'd be leading.
I'm balancing. I'm balancing. I'm balancing. Thank you.
Leading the witness.
Balancing.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Mr. Van Kerkhoff, do you have any comments to make on this? I saw you up by the podium.
Good morning, Mark Van Kerkhoff. My only comment this morning is you'll notice in your packet, two new documents in your zoning packet. That is the findings of fact form that we've been working on developing with Mr. Frank, the state's attorney's office. I want to thank them for their work with us and with the zoning board. I especially thank the zoning board members for making that adaptation as well. We're still kind of a work in progress. So you'll notice one is handwritten, one is typed up, and we're working on finalizing that process so it's most efficient for the zoning board of appeals and provides you with the best information in terms of their actual findings of fact for making your vote and your process here this morning hopefully a lot easier and quicker. So thank you again to Mr. Frank and his team. Happy to answer any questions or get your feedback as we continue to refine the new process. Thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you. With that, Mr. Frank, can this board just take the vote now, or do we have to each one speak to the findings of fact?
SEO Frank. So the entire point of why we created the findings of fact from the ZBA is that you can rely and adopt upon them. So you do not need to give your individual bases. I assume nobody wanted to do that again, so we've taken care of that for you.
I appreciate that, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. All right, with that, sir, ready to call the vote?
Yes, I would like to call the vote.
Okay. All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Allen, aye. Bates,
yes.
Berman, Doherty,
yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Yes.
Juby. Juby, aye. Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Linder, did you arrive?
Yes, Linda, yes.
Okay, thank you. Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis, Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Young.
No.
Passes 1 nay.
All right, before we begin, we have to formally, may I please have Mr. Linder admitted due to illness?
Consent.
Okay, consent. Okay, everybody good. All right, Mr. Linder, you can participate fully. Welcome back.
Thank
you. Okay, yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Ford.
All right, thank you. Our next petition is petition 4620. And actually the petitioner is under Stephen Bernard Trust. The location is 34 West 653 Huntley Road in Rutland Township. The special use request is for F Farming District for a solar facility. Objectors, actually the 24 plan is resource management. The objectors are area property owners in the area. The zoning board has approved this with stipulations which are listed in our packet. So with that in mind, I make the motion.
Is there a second?
Caius second.
Thank you, Mr. Caius. And so we can know whose district is this in?
Surges.
Mr. Surges, okay. All righty. All right, so we have same group of speakers, Mr. Osborne, Mr. Berry, Ms. Kahanick, and Carpenter, who is not here. Do any of you want to speak to this, or are you just here to have support? Support? Same, okay. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so on page 60 of our packet, under the findings of fact, under number 1, the zoning board seems to have some, I don't know if it's conflicting information, but they're talking about there's concern for some hazardous potential materials that could leak in, and they think it's generally safe, but it might run into the well, or it might not. There's always a potential. And so they requested a stipulation number 7 for 5-year monitoring. I would feel more comfortable with monitoring much sooner than that. This is the first time I've read one of these where I really couldn't tell which direction it was going to go, because there could be a problem, there might not be a problem, it probably will be, but we're not sure. It's going to take a long time. And so I think that the last statement, we think there are safeguards in place to help prevent it from becoming an issue outside of and off the property that we're reviewing. I would prefer to see it more of a time-sensitive safeguard. So maybe monitoring every 2 years, or I'm not comfortable with it monitoring every 5 based on this finding of fact.
Mr. Ford, we've got, do you want to speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
The applicant or the petitioner has no objection to doing the monitoring every 2 years versus every 5. Just, there's a transcript of from the ZBA proceeding. I don't expect you all to have read it, but one of the things that the evidence, I understand your question, because it's kind of going back and forth a little bit on that. But I think one of the things we pointed out in the hearing was that any risk to contamination of the wells was, I don't want to say 0, but to correct me if I'm wrong, Emily. Emily's the civil engineer for the project, but the topography of the area is such that the water will drain away from the panels. And then, of course, as Mr. Osborne already indicated, these panels are made of glass and aluminum and silicone, and they won't contain any hazardous materials anyway, but in the unlikely event that there was a problem, that water is flowing away. But having said all that, the ZBA did recommend the 5 years testing, soil testing at 5 years. The applicant's more than willing to accept something more frequent than that, such as 2 years.
So should we amend that? How does that work? Yes.
Well, I think we should hear from Mark to see what was their, why they picked 5 years.
I would like to speak on this.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Surges, did you have a comment to make?
I do, Madam Chair. In this particular case, I think this is the item that was brought up that I discussed in executive. I have had reach out from 2 of the area mayors. And John, correct me when I go mistaken here, but my understanding is we have these 7, standing items that these things need to clear. And if they don't, it's a no vote. If they do, we can't stop it. My understanding and my conversations with the area mayors was that in this particular case, we have spent an enormous amount of money creating the Long Meadow Parkway. to connect Route 25 all the way out through Route 47 and to begin this economic corridor that's going to be articulated through that. This particular site is specifically on Huntley Road, which is part of that entire process. The mayors came to me and said, we have painstakingly supported Long Meadow Parkway, expecting that to be a much more robust corridor, not a solar field, if you will. And they are, and I believe the response that I gave and that we have discussed openly was that while we might not have the ability to control that, you guys can feel free to annex that and put your own controls in if you have that ability. At this particular time, I have not researched this enough to give an opinion on it. From when this made it to my desk and when those phone calls came through to now has been a very abbreviated time frame. I would ask that if we have the ability to delay this to give another 30 days from some additional research with those municipalities, I would appreciate that. If we don't have that, I am absolutely not in support of this one, regardless of the 7 issues that we have, or the 7 checkpoints, if you will, that we have to address because of the proximity on this, because of the amount of money, and because that's been invested, and the expectations of what that corridor would be. I would just ask for a little time to get our ducks in a row on this before we approve this one.
All right, so we have, is that a motion?
Oh, I would, if I have the ability, Mr. Frank, to motion to help me with the motion. I said, I don't want to say table. I just want to give 30 days.
So if you are looking to essentially allow for people to investigate this, my recommendation would be to send it back to the zoning board to reopen the public hearing to account for whether or not the Long Meadow Parkway concern would affect one of these 7. There is argument that it could affect, their argument could be used for one of these. I don't believe in looking at their finding of facts. Did they contemplate that? But that also might be because they disregarded it. So if that's what you're looking to do, that's technically the step you would make for purposes of answering a procedural question.
I personally would concur that I would like that time to continue the research on this.
So your.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So if we can articulate the motion. So
John, feel free to articulate that.
To quote what Cliff was obviously going to say, he is moving to have it sent back to the zoning board of appeals to consider concerns related to the Long Meadow Parkway.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Second.
And Mr. Barry, I understand that you'd like to speak to that, but let Ms. Bates speak first.
Thank you. There is a state law that was passed a year or so ago stipulating what counties can and can't do with respect to denying a permit for solar. Does economic development have a standing?
It's so new that it really has never been challenged, and it's really never been, I think the one you're referring to is where they've kind of said that solar is kind of a protected special use that you really should approve it if they've checked all the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
As a part of that, and I think we've discussed this in the past, as a part of that, there's a element to this, which is you can subject them to your process. And in this case, Kane County has created a special use process. And a part of that process is the 7 factors, which is why we wanted the findings of fact specifically enumerated by the Zoning Board of Appeals, because they need to make it clear on why they are promoting or not recommending. And then you guys use those facts to make your determination, because the point of county board is not to be the public hearing. You could if you wanted to, but then we would be doing what we did, was it 2 months ago? So here the Zoning Board of Appeals did findings of fact, and accounted for those things. If you as a county board want to send it back to the Zoning Board of Appeals, that is within the county's ordinance for you to do. So it is a legal procedure you can do. It is unclear whether or not someone could challenge that authority or not, but it appears that for all intents and purposes, if the statute you're referring to does account for the county's, Kane County's ordinance to be applied properly, then what Mr. Sturgis is requesting is a proper procedure. So I don't think it would necessarily say this can't be done, but to answer your question directly, it's still unclear.
Oh, that's very clear.
I know, I wish I could give you a definitive answer because then it would just be a simple yes or no. The problem is this is so new.
Okay, thank
It
you.
is unclear.
All right, thanks.
Before we go on, I don't know if Mark wants to speak on this subject or not. since-
And we have our, the attorney. So Mr. Berry, why don't, I'll recognize you now and you can have your comments, please.
Thank you. So I guess I would, on behalf of the petitioner, take the position that a request for a delay, and obviously that's the board's prerogative, subject to the advice of your legal counsel. I would question whether it's necessary because I believe these issues were addressed at the public hearing, which is, again, under state law and under your county ordinance, is designed to develop the set of findings of fact and recommendations that are associated as part of a public hearing process that are associated with the issuance of a permit. So if you look at stipulation number 12, it states all solar arrays and proposed power poles on the site will not encroach upon the ultimate right-of-way footprint of Huntley Road. The ultimate right-of-way is 80 feet from the center line of Huntley Road per the March 15, 2005 multi-party intergovernmental agreement. I will tell you that if you look at the record that was presented at the Zoning Board of Appeals, both the Village of Algonquin and the Village of Carpentersville submitted letters on the day of the hearing, by the way. The applicant did its best to accommodate the concerns, and I think did accommodate most of those concerns in the letters. But no one from either village showed up to testify. I mean, that they had their chance. That's why we have a public hearing. And I don't know why they, I don't know why they
Did call me, sir.
No, I don't doubt that. I just think that we have a public hearing to divine the facts associated with the application. So I'm not doubting that they talked to folks. I'm just saying that was the forum to have the discussion. And we did have a discussion. And I'll, again, I think Mark might be helpful in verifying that. But I think this issue was addressed when it comes to Huntley Road. If you could just look at stipulation number 12, and the applicant agrees to follow that stipulation. So again, it's you all's prerogative, but I think this was addressed already, and I don't know what we would discuss again in front of the ZBA.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Van Kerkhoff, please.
Sure. On this topic, I would just offer up that we do have the PowerPoint slides that show where this parcel is in conjunction on the county's 2040 plan and the existing boundaries of the municipalities, if that would be helpful to the board.
Laird, can you find those?
It's page 39.
And I think the slide is on page 40 of the packet, at least of my packet.
40, 41.
You're right.
Using the packet is fine too, Blair.
40.
Page 40.
40. So about 5 pages from where you're at.
40.
Shows
4 or
them.
5 of them.
Oh,
Keep on, I think
he's using
Start at
the,
the beginning, I'll tell you to keep moving forward. It'll mainly be the first series of maps that just give the county board an idea of where this site is located.
And Mr. Ford, while we're waiting, if I may. I mean, we're talking about a
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I mean, we're talking about such an impactful change here that if two local mayors have reached out to me, I am simply asking this board to give this 30 days to come up to speed.
Okay, well, here we go.
Okay. Here brief, I'll go through this series of maps. This is on our 2040 land use plan. It's in an area that's categories resource management. It's an area where it's anticipated that development of any type might happen as part of an annexation to municipality or under the county's jurisdiction. You can see Carpentersville and Algonquin to the east. You can see Gilbert's to the west. None of the municipalities are currently contiguous. Next slide, please. Here is the zoning map. You can see there are some forest preserve to the south. There's some established residential zonings just to the west, some business zonings to the south and west. Otherwise, it's still predominantly F district farming. On the north side of Huntley Road are large special uses, and you'll see from the aerial those are active gravel mining, surface mining operations. Next slide, please. Next one. Here is an aerial. I'll give you a sense of the trend and character of the area. You can see it's still predominantly farmed north and south of Huntley Road in the areas outside of the municipalities. And you can see the gravel operation on the north side of the road, some of the established residential. The one comment Carpentersville had, in fact, one of the agreed stipulations from the petitioner is to put fencing and landscape screening on the east side of their property for anticipated or potential residential development that Carpentersville mentioned. Go to the next slide, please. One more in. Okay, here you can really kind of see the trending character of the immediate area. You have that business zoning down to the south and east. You have some residential uses and some agriculture just to the west. The mining operation on the north side of the road and the forest preserve to the south there. Just to a little bit to the east at the corner there, that is one of Willow Creek satellite campus churches. You can see the building in the parking lot and farmstead still across the street. I'm happy to answer any questions if that helps. Let me go a couple more forward to their current site plan. Keep going. Keep going. So this was their original site plan that they had submitted showing the panels going pretty much up to the setback on Huntley Road. Keep going to the next slide. Here's their amended site plan in deference to the comments that they received from the municipalities and from the residential property owner along Huntley Road. They brought the panels further to the south, which would still leave that area to the north potentially to be developed for some other use in the future. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mark, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir. And then Ms. Bates.
Mark, the characterization of the area, to show a mining facility, to show farming operations, kind of paints this as a pretty desolate spot. And I would remind you that, or I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to sound confrontational at all. I apologize. That came out the wrong way. I'm getting animated. We just went through a remapping of our districts based on territories and population count. And the biggest sway that we had in Kane County was Pingree Grove Gilbert's. Far and away. And anybody wants to debate that, let's go.
Because Pingree Grove is a high growth.
We are talking,
village.
this is the corridor that we've been putting together for some 25 years to help accommodate all of that growth that's happening out there. Oh, do we want to use Route 72, Higgins Road? Do we want it to be Hunt? Well, we finally made a decision. We're going to do the Long Meadow Parkway. We're going to connect this to that. We're going to invigorate Huntley. This is to to paint the picture that this is a mining operation in a farm field. That may have been a great pictorial 20 years ago. But that pictorial today, give me a few days and I can walk in with enough statistics to say, what are you guys talking about? This is the biggest growth boom in Kane County. While Aurora's losing people, we had to remap because we had 15,000 people that were a cornfield just 10 years ago. So that depiction of what this is just isn't accurate any longer. Can you go out there and take a snapshot today and say, sure, but I guarantee you I can put together the village planners from this area and tell you exactly what their expectations were or are, and whether they missed a meeting or weren't paying close enough attention or whatever the case is. They have certainly resoundingly reached out now saying, this was not anticipated. And we understand the state has come in with some new rules, but we are in fact challenging some of those rules to say, if this, then that. And I'd certainly like enough time. I don't think 30 days. And if in 30 days, this proves out to say, hey, listen, they have the privilege to do that and there's nothing we can do, then there's no harm, no foul. But if when that 30 days, we can prove there is a reason not to approve this, and we do have that, and we are challenging it, then I would like that 30 days, because this is the one that's worth fighting. This is not something that's, and I get it, it's not next to a school, it's not sitting out in a car. It is literally on the main thoroughfare that we have slated to be the next big commercial residential expansion that we have.
Okay,
That's what I'm asking for from this board, 30 days.
thank you. And Ms. Bates?
I have a question. Where is Long Meadow Bridge in all these pictures? Is it way to the east?
To the
East and north,
How many miles?
5.
5 miles. So this is a 5-mile corridor you're saying needs to be protected from?
The corridor is Randall Road, Galligan, Tyrell, whatever you want to name it at that point, and Route 47. So those are the three, what would that be, northwest roads?
Mhm.
And this is the perpendicular that connects all of them, all the way from Route 25 to
So this
Route
is like half
47.
of Kane County you're saying needs to be
No.
nixed for solar panels?
I'm speaking
This
about
corridor?
Madam Chair.
I'm speaking of Huntley Road.
This is a very active
Yeah.
conversation right now. We've got, Mr. Roth would like to make a brief comment, and then I think yes, sir. No,
You can do wrong. Go, let,
and then Mr. Tepe now has his hands up as well, but we still have a motion on the table. Yeah,
Okay.
we can't forget about the motion with
Right.
this.
so
So
my comment will be
Yes.
to the motion that
To-
was just made.
please. Oh, so are we all ready to take the vote to, I think we've got two board members who want to speak.
What I would just say is the motion has been moved and seconded. Comments need to refrain to the motion currently before you.
Move it.
And then once the vote takes, then you guys can go back to the regularly scheduled programming.
Is this about the motion to move it for 30 days?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Roth, 30 Mr. Roth can go first.
Okay. I went on and did, into Google and did the map. And if we do that and drill out a little bit, it will reflect what Mr. Sturgis was talking about being a corridor.
It is.
So I would recommend we bring that up so people can see that.
Back.
Well, no, it'd actually go into Google Maps
Oh, no. but
because
this-
there's none of the pictures show the development that's been
but
happening
yeah,
there.
Yeah, he's right with the, just. If you can, but
I went in Google Maps and said, take me to Huntley and Randall.
let our IT guy try it. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Tepe.
Madam Chair, thank you. In my opinion, it appears to me that these two communities have had more than enough notice to say if they wanted to object. Objecting by a phone call is not really an objective or an objection. They should have showed up either for the zoning meeting or even today when there's a hearing. for either of these communities to have control over this issue, they would have to annex that area. That's not something that can happen in a relatively short time period. So regardless of any kind of delay, we're just going to delay what these business people want to do because it's going to come back before this organization. And none of the objections meet the criteria, as I understand it, for us to say no. So I would not be in favor of delaying this particular decision.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Caius.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is Caius. Now I think I lean toward Mr. Surgis, his comments about delaying this somewhat. I think this is precisely why but this, on the other hand, this is precisely why the state put this into effect, was that many of the counties were actually saying, oh, well, we don't quite have enough information, send it back. Oh, we don't quite have enough information, send it back. Oh, we don't have, I mean, until ad nauseum, until they gave up. So I would caution, I am in favor if there is going to be some new thing that's going to come up in delaying it a mere 30 days, but I think that has to be the limit on this. And we don't want to delay this ad nauseum just to make sure that we have all the input. And of course, I'm affected by it as well because I'm very close to you. So I would not oppose.
Called you immediately.
While I would like to see this move forward, and I think that it's right that move forward, I would defer that we do the 30 days to make sure there's no objection. I feel confident in 30 days we come back, we'll run to the same conclusion. But there you have it.
Blair has it up. Can we switch to the actual layer, Blair?
Satellite. Mr. Iqbal, do you had a comment?
Yes,
While we're waiting
yeah.
for this.
Madam Chair, this is an interesting area. When I looked at this map before this discussion, it came very obvious to me that this is the wrong spot. Why is this owner using this property for solar panel? It is much more valuable land. It is not being put to the highest and the best use. So why they are doing it, I don't know. Second question in my mind was, what are these villages doing sitting around this and not annexing it? Why we have it in our jurisdiction? So those are the questions. I think 30 days would not solve it. The state has legislated, and if they met the criteria, we have to give it to them. Second thing is the question about 5-year versus 2-year soil. I think it is.
That is not germane.
Yeah, that's not
this.
germane
You
here.
can hold that back.
Yeah, Madam Chair Ford.
Yes, sir.
On the present, what's on the table now. Normally, I wouldn't be for the 30 days, but we have talked about what we need to do as our initiative for economic development. And I am very curious about what the plans are for this corridor that's there, because it probably is going to play a big part of what we need to do to change from an initiative to actually action on our economic development. So I do have an interest to see what's there. And I agree with Caius that we can give it a 30 days and then that's it. You know, whatever information we get, I don't know if that really changed, because I don't know whether or not actually putting these panels here could actually help with other part of the future plans that they're planning on doing there.
All right, so thank you for that. I think we're ready. Mr. Ford, you ready to call the vote? You've had enough discussion on this. Everybody had enough. This is to put it back to the zoning Board of Appeals to rehear for further discussion and bring it back to the board at the February board meeting. Correct?
The only caveat I would say is for the specific issue
Yes.
as it relates to how it would impact the Long Meadow Parkway issue.
Thank you. All right, clerk, everybody ready? Call the roll, please.
Just on the amendment.
Just on the amendment.
Okay, Allen.
Allen, aye.
Bates.
Bates, no.
Berman.
No.
Doherty.
Yes.
Davis.
Davis, yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
No.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Kenyon,
Aye.
Caius,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Tepe,
Seppi, no.
no, Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young,
Yes.
passes. Okay, good. 1, 2, 3, 5 nays.
All right, we're back to the discussion. So it's been tabled. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All righty. So much for our zoning petitions. Is there any new business brought forward to the board? Yes, sir.
I'd like to just verify that the proclamation that Mr. Williams was talking about earlier today, we are going to go ahead and go forward with that for the February meeting.
That's my
Once it's
understanding.
approved by the state's attorney's office.
That is
correct?
what my hope is. Yes.
Okay.
It's my goal.
Okay.
I think it's all of our goals to clarify this.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Okay, very good. Snow's beautiful. Look at it. It's just coming down. All right, we are starting with our appointments and just, it's nice to have winter back. I mean, I mean.
Till you go outside.
I know, but we're supposed to have winter.
Bahamas look pretty good.
It can snow on the west side of wherever here.
You can do, yeah. All right. Mr. Fonstock, are you here to do your appointment?
I am online.
Okay, very good. Your turn.
Okay. So you have before you the appointments for the Kane County Emergency Telephone Systems Board. All three of these people are reappointments, so they have served a 3-year term and are seeking reappointment. The first one is the police chief of the city of Geneva, Eric Passarelli. And then we have our very own Kane County board member, Myrna Molina, and then the public member from Sugar Grove, Mike Fagel. And all three of them have been serving a 3-year term, which expires on January 1st of 2024. And this would renew their appointment for another 3 years. We're recommending their approval.
Thank you. Do I have a motion and a second?
Caius would move.
Thank you.
Eight seconds.
Then Ms. Bates, seconds. Any discussion? And Ms. Molina, thank you for stepping up to serve. Very nice. So clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Oh, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Iqbal,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Kenyon, Caius,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes. Yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Tepe,
Seppi, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
And the next one is Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
Yes, good morning. In the midst of all our zoning activity, our zoning board chairman decided to move out of town. So Jim Plonzinski was our chairman from Geneva Township, resident of the city of Geneva. Actually a former Kane County employee before leaving employment here to work for the village of Bartlett. And then upon retirement, was appointed as chair of our zoning board. We're very appreciative for all the service that Jim had to Kane County, both as a staff person, zoning officer, and then later one of our communities, and then as our zoning board chair. So that necessitated the appointment of a new chair, which by ordinance is appointed by Madam Chairman. For confirmation today, I do have some more background on Tracy if anyone's interested, but she was appointed to the ZBA in 2017. She has served as a fill-in chair very, very nicely and aspires to be appointed and serve as your chair of the zoning board. This also does leave a vacancy, which we hope to come back with recommendations next month. We currently have 2 alternate members, so one of those alternate members could be promoted up to a full member. If you know anyone who's interested in serving on the ZBA capacity, please have them fill out an online form and it would get them included. ZBA members are restricted. We cannot have more than one from the same township. So we'd be looking for someone to serve from either Geneva Township or one of our other townships that currently does not have a ZBA member appointed. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Hearing that, she's quite an accomplished woman. Tracy's quite an accomplished woman. With a large history in historical architecture and preservation. So with that, other questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Juby,
Yeah.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Tepe. Not here. Okay. Williams,
Williams, yes.
Young.
Yes.
It passes.
Okay, very good. We are now moving on to our consent agenda.
Vote again.
That's committee updates.
Committee, point of order, is committee updates then?
Moving ahead at warp speed.
Madam Chair.
I have, yes, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. There are committee updates. We have some are there any committee updates? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sturgis, just a reminder that at tomorrow's Human Services meeting, item 9A is a discussion, an ordinance, the Illinois residency requirements. I continue to throw caution the wind on this, that and while I appreciate all the phone calls coming in from all sides, I am confused with the notion of any ordinance that we enact here, how that supersedes over an elected office that has internal control versus a department that we control and how that works. But we know that there are already people looking to be hired that reside outside of the state of Illinois. And I'm looking to you 24 individuals to set policy on how we want to handle that. I am not advocating one way or the other, but the insurance side, the unemployment side, the workers' comp side, and the finance side have all put up caution saying we're not prepared for this. And in as much we need to address that. So whether that's resources that we give those departments to handle that, it'll be a lively discussion that begins tomorrow. And I think I've now said this in 3 different committees, including exec and the entire board. Do not kill the messenger. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Caius.
Why not? What's the fun in that? Thank you, Mr. Surges. Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is Caius, Chairman of the Administration Committee. Tomorrow, I'd like to remind folks, as a reminder rather than an update, or I guess an update, that we will be discussing the master plan. There will be a presentation by the architect tomorrow during administration on the update current. And then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a special committee of the whole meeting to do, yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. 1. Yes, 1 o'clock. For facilities master plan update, and in particular, at that in that meeting will be the new public health to discuss the potential for a new public health facility by Roger Fonstock.
Correct.
So well worth attending. Let's keep up to date on
Okay,
what's going on.
okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Is that meeting here?
Yes.
All
meetings are
here.
Going to be here.
Assuming we get through the snow.
No, the snow's going to be fine. No,
Well, we
it'll be
plow.
fine. So It's going to end tomorrow.
I was going to say, I have room at my house. I'm nice and close if someone does want to drive.
All right, are no other
Breakfast.
committee updates? Okay, very good. So let's now move forward to the consent agenda, please. Like to make snowmen, come on, deep in your hearts. You all like snowmen. Would anybody like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, Williams here under transportation. I'd like to remove resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement for the jurisdictional transfer of Old Bliss Road from the county of Kane to the Blackberry Township Road District for purposes of recusal. I will be exiting my seat during that vote. There's no numbers on it.
then.
For dash 027.
Numbers.
24 to. We're flying blind now, man. We got no numbers on here. Right.
Okay.
We don't have numbers on
But
ours.
you've got, don't you have the resolution number there?
They didn't number them.
Numbers.
Online there, or
I think this calls for a bit of a process improvement. Oops, sorry.
Okay, so I will read it back. Okay, so we have one. Is there anybody else?
Doherty,
Yes, Mr. Doherty, yes.
24025.
25, adopt a highway.
So what
That's
do I-
the adopt
those?
a highway. You're 27.
Correct.
But did we? Consistent.
Mr. Williams, did you
Mr.
intend
Williams,
to
here's a
remove
question.
both 027 and 028?
Mr. Williams, there's a question here for you.
I'm sorry.
Did you intend to remove both 027 and 028?
The transfer and one's an intergovernment
Yes,
agreement.
thank you both, please.
And what was that first one? I'm figuring this out. What was the first one that was removed?
27, it's transferring Bliss Road from the county of Kane to Blackberry Township.
It's the bottom
the-
of page,
That,
Mavis, it's the bottom of page 3 on the agenda.
I
Bottom
got
two.
that one. Okay.
Top of the next page.
And then the other two are right next to each other regarding Bliss Road. Anything else? Okay, ready? May I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda minus items number 24-025 and twenty-four 27 and 24-028.
Bates moves.
Thank you, Ms. Bates.
And then with second page.
Mr. Kenyon. No further discussion on that. Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay, Ellen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Iqbal,
Well, yes.
Juby,
Ruby, I.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina, Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tarver. Tarver's not here. Deppie. Young.
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
Thank you. All righty. May I please have a motion and a second to approve item number 24-025? Let's adopt a highway.
Caius would move.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle. Second,
Kenyon would second.
Mr. Kenyon, Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
comment, please. You pulled it.
No.
Yes, same reason every month. Should I
Share
go
what
over
the- Share what the reason is, please.
is that we have no regulations in place to regulate who can adopt the highway. And my fear is that one day we will get some organization that we all don't approve of. And we're gonna have to approve them anyway because we have no regulations to stop them. And we've been approving everybody all along. So the point is we need to get some, we have stipulations in place for everything else. You want solar panels, you got to do these 47 things. You want to change the road, you got to do these things. You want to adopt a highway, it doesn't matter if you're part of the KKK or NAMBLA, you can adopt part of a highway in Kane County. That's wrong.
All right, there is a solution to that, and I think we can talk offline on if you'd like to move something forward, working with Transportation Department and have it go through the committee process to be discussed. So you can be active with that so that your voice can be heard and appropriate amended changes can be made if the board feels they would like to do that. So. We can talk later. All right, with that, any other discussion on this?
Yeah, just would say to Mr. Doherty, who makes a valid point, that I will solicit the guidance of the SAO of Mr. Frank, and we'll see what we can do to address those concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Very good. All right, no other comments. Clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Oh,
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Iqbal,
Oh, no.
Juby,
Aye.
Kenyon,
Aye.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder, Melina,
Molina, yes.
Roth, Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis,
Yes.
Carver,
Carver, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams, Young,
Yes.
that passes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, may I please have, may I please have a motion and a second to approve item number 24-027?
Davis here, if I understood Mr. Williams, this was so that he could separate these so that he could recuse himself from it. I would offer both 027 and 028 and seek a second.
Sanchez seconds.
Is that okay?
Sanchez,
Very good. Okay, we have a motion, a second for item number 027 and 028. Is there any questions, discussion on these? Seeing none online. Clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
aye.
Bates,
Yes.
Berman,
Yes.
Doherty,
oh, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Iqbal,
Yes.
Juby,
Aye.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis, okay. Linder,
Linder, yes.
Melina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis,
Yes.
Carver,
Carver, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
and Young.
Yes.
Passes.
All right, that's the end of our consent agenda and items that were pulled from consent. Item number 24-031 was pulled. That will be up for further review with the ARPA committee. Mr. Sanchez, do you have any comments on that?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, so that'll be brought to your attention at a later date. May I have a motion and a second to discuss and possibly approve item number 24-032?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Iqbal, second, please.
Caius would second.
Thank you, Mr. Caius. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Allen,
I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Gavest,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Iqbal,
Yes.
Juby,
Yeah.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman. Strathman,
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
okay. Surgis,
Yes.
Carver,
Carver, yes.
Tepe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
passes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. May I please have a motion and a second to approve item number 24-033?
Molina moves.
Thank you, Ms. Molina. Second, please. Thank you, Mr. Kenyon. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ellen,
I.
Bates, Berman,
Berman, yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Gavest,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Iqbal, Juby, Kenyon, Caius,
Yes, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Silva,
Silva, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surgis,
Yes.
Tarver,
Carver, yes.
Tepe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Young. That passes.
That passes. There is no, thank you. That ends the votes. There's no need for executive session. We do have some public comments that are off agenda. There will be allotted 15 minutes for that discussion. And each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes per speaker. So the first speaker is Brian Smith. Mr. Smith here? Yeah, okay. Speaker is Jody Zitko. Hi, Jody.
Good morning and almost afternoon. My name is Jody Zitko and I live in Kane County, and I've been a resident of Illinois for 57 years and a resident of Kane for 21. I'm a volunteer and the director for the Illinois chapter of United Sovereign Americans, a nationwide organization with thousands of active volunteers in over 20 states. Today, I come to you as a concerned citizen, sharing alarming information about the state voter database uncovered through thousands of hours of research conducted by a highly qualified and credentialed data team. While the numbers are staggering and somewhat difficult to comprehend, one thing is clear: they don't add up. Just like your checkbook has to balance, so do our votes. If you had $10,000 more in your bank account than you had deposited, you would certainly want to know where it came from. And if a company had that significant of a discrepancy in their books, they would most certainly conduct an audit. In fact, yearly audits are required by law for all public companies. And that is simply all we're asking is for an end-to-end audit of the 2022 election, from registration through certification. We are not saying one candidate surely won over another, and we are not asking for an election to be overturned. We just want to ensure that the votes as counted are valid and accurate under the law. Issues have been found in state voter roll database indicating that may not be what happens. Today, we'll present to you with a resolution for an audit with a summary of those findings and the law. We are happy to meet with you to have time to go over this information, including a more detailed setting about the specific findings. If you have questions that I cannot answer now, I'll commit to getting the answer in writing from the United Sovereign Americans executive team as soon as possible. This data and our request for an investigation have been shared with the state and county officials and election certifiers, and they have largely ignored our requests. Today, we come to you, our closest elected representatives, for support and action. We're asking that you listen to the resolution and ask questions if you have them, and then vote promptly for passage. Your action on this resolution will illustrate your dedication and support to the concerns of your constituents. Thank you. Our next three speakers will read the resolution.
Michelle Peterson.
Hi, my name is Michelle Peterson. I have been a resident of Illinois for 29 years, and I'm a volunteer and not an official spokesperson for United Sovereign Americans. I'm going to read part one of our resolution. Resolution for an audit of the Illinois 2022 general election. Whereas it is a recognized civil right of the United States for every citizen to have free and fair elections, quote, and the right of suffrage can be denied by a debasement or dilution of the weight of a citizen's vote, just as effectively as by wholly prohibiting the free exercise of the franchise. This is from Reynolds v. Sims 377 U.S. 533, 1964. Whereas it is the affirmative duty of our election officials to comply with all federal and state laws governing administration and procedure of our elections, thereby guaranteeing our elections are accurate and free from distortion or manipulation. Quote, Congress seeks to guard the election of members of Congress against any possible unfairness by compelling everyone concerned in holding the election to a strict and scrupulous observance of every duty devolved upon him while so engaged. The evil intent consists in disobedience to the law, end quote. This is in Recoy 127 U.S. 731, 1888. Whereas our Constitution systems of representative government only works when the worth of the honest ballots is not diluted by invalid ballots procured by corruption, and assuring accuracy can only be achieved through fealty to those who laws governing the following four tenets of our election. Number one, voter rolls must be accurate. This is from the National Voter Registration Act of 1993. Number two, votes counted must be from eligible voters. This is from U.S. Constitution 14th Amendment. Number three, the number of votes counted must equal the number of voters who voted. This is just common sense. Number four, there can be no more than 1 in 125,000 ballots in error. No more than 1 in 125,000 ballots in error by the voting system. This is from the Help America's Vote Act of 2002. And also, just an aside, your ordinance that you want to put together here in your county actually does follow under home rule. So you are a home rule county, so you can make your own ordinances.
The next speaker is Molly Lesueur.
Morning. My name is Molly Lesueur. I live in Kane County and I've lived in Illinois for 59 years. I'm a volunteer and not an official spokesperson for United Sovereign Americans. I'm going to continue to read part two of our resolution. Whereas an open source audit of the Illinois 2022 general election conducted by Illinois state citizens has uncovered evidence of massive inaccuracies that violates both federal and state laws, including 4,032,801 ineligible or uncertain registration violations found within the Illinois State Voter Roll database. Again, that's 4,032,801. There are 589,985,000 votes cast by ineligible or uncertain registrations. Again, that's 589,985. Therefore, 27,491 more votes counted than voters who voted in the 2022 general election. No one knows who cast them. 589,952 apparent voting violations in excess of the legal standard of system accuracy for a valid federal election. For the 2022 election in Illinois, the number allowed would be 33. Again, it was 589,952. Certification, as defined by law, an attestation of accuracy and compliance that appears to have been fraudulent and illegal. Thank you for your time.
Lori Van Heel.
Madam Chair, County Board. I'm sure you recognize me. My name's Lori Van Heel. I ran for local school board this last election. I live in Kane County and I have for over 34 years. I'm going to continue to read part 3 of the resolution. Whereas these findings trample accuracy requirements of voting systems for a federal election, wherein the system shall achieve a target error rate of no more than 1 in 10 million ballot positions or 1 in 125,000 ballots. For a voting system, accuracy is defined as the ability of the system to capture, record, store, consolidate, and report the specific selections and absence of selections made by the voter for each ballot position without error. Whereas it must be known factually and provably the intent of the voters is accurately presented by election results before certification can be lawfully conducted. Certification of an election that varies from law is an abridgment of the civil rights of the citizens of fraud ab initio, State versus Throckmorton, 98 U.S. 61, 1878. Whereas state officials have met the efforts of Illinois state citizens to seek redress for these egregious violations with indifference and inaction, including Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, State Board of Elections, county election officials, county clerks, sheriffs, state's attorneys, and others. Whereas none of the reported 2020 violations were addressed prior to the administration and certification of the 2022 general election, and therefore prevails a spirit of extreme contention and zero trust between people of differential political ideologies across Illinois, which is destructive to our families, our way of life, and the fabric of these United States. That concludes the reading of the resolution. Thank you. I'm going to add just a short blurb, if you don't mind. As a resident of Kane County for 34 years, I did have 3 children attend District 303. I decided to run for local school board this last election because I wanted to be a common sense mind at the table, something to bring back the values that we built and upon which this district was founded. I was never afforded this opportunity of a free and fair election. When the technical difficulties that occurred election night, April 4th, 2023, visions of our country's past elections start to quickly come to mind. When there is an interruption in the voting process with no real explanation, deep doubt is created. When the media, the one outlet from which to get any truth, gets behind different explanations of what supposedly occurred, residents continue to doubt now and with skepticism even more. When we have thwarted this process, when we have deprived every citizen, even one, of a free and fair election, we have thwarted the voice of the people. We have thwarted our freedom for good. Thank you.
Ken Zitko.
Hi, my name is Ken Zitko. I'm a volunteer and a director for the Illinois Sovereign Americans for the state of Illinois. And we have a volunteer who's got some handouts for the board. Got a copy for every board member and Madam Chair. So if those can get to the people who aren't here now. You just heard a powerfully written resolution outlining massive inaccuracies in our elections from registration through certification. In it, you heard us ask for 5 firm requests, including an end-to-end audit of the 2022 general election. In fact, the resolution cited many U.S. Supreme Court precedents that support the need for such an action. Bottom line, the checkbook is not balancing, and we need to understand why. Audits are so common that in 2021, it was a $200 billion industry worldwide. Yet the voter system, which controls our most vitally important right, the right of suffrage, escapes this common everyday practice. Isn't the voting system at least, if not more important? Do you think that these anomalies within our election system, which are part of our national security infrastructure, should continue to be ignored? If not, you can show your agreement by passing this resolution. What you just heard today is the accumulation of thousands of hours of work of our highly qualified and credentialed volunteer data teams from this state and across the country. High numbers of Americans, including many right here in Kane County, have questions about the trustworthiness of our elections. Our right to vote or elect for elected representatives in legally valid and transparent elections is the foundation on which our republic was built. And that right has been bravely protected over the past 2.5 centuries by sacrifices of our brothers, sisters, fathers, and mothers. You on this board have a chance to show everyone who defended that right and the citizens that you represent that you also value this by passing this resolution for an audit. It's time to open the books on our elections. We have a website. It's uniteforfreedom.com. That's unite, the number 4, freedom.com. I'd encourage you to go there and take a look. There's videos that further explain our work and what we're trying to accomplish. And then I'd encourage you, if you can't ask questions in this setting, to invite us back and place us on the agenda. I was encouraged to see the conversation about proclamations and letters to the city of Chicago. That's exactly what we're asking you to do in this resolution to the state, aligning with us and supporting fair and valid elections. Thank you.
That ends our public comment. Mr. Kenyon.
If there's nothing more to pass, I would move we adjourn to next month. And we almost made it. It was 7 minutes after.
I would move that Mr. Tepe be required to wear the cheese head hat at every single
Yes, that-
county
yeah,
board
that-
meeting going forward.
Out of order. On behalf of Mr. Tepe.
Committee.
With that, we have a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Be safe in the